What's going on, everybody? Aidan from Birds vs. Boys podcast here. Game day reaction show. If you missed our announcement this week, we're splitting it up. I'm doing my own for the Eagles. Kevin is doing his own for the Cowboys going forward. That way, depending on your team, you can choose. If you're watching on YouTube, it'll be one big audio version on Apple Podcasts. But I figured, let's knock mine out. Early 1:00 game against the Lions, and wow, was that the same team that we saw last week? I think this will be a little bit more cheery than the game day reaction show I did last week, where the Raiders kind of had their way and did anything they want against the Eagles. And then the roles reversed this week. The Eagles kind of were able to do whatever they wanted against the Lions. 44-6 final score. Not the most famous 44-6 game in Eagles history, but I will take it. You can make the argument that losing games at this point is probably better for the team. And yeah, you might be right. But sometimes it's just fun to get a win and just completely dominate in the process. Have your starters out by the fourth quarter and just watch that clock trickle down. The Lions. On the show this week, we questioned whether if they were the best, worst team of all time. They've played a few close games. They lost on a miraculous field goal against the Ravens on an NFL record for field goals. They lost another game winner against the Vikings. No, they might just be bad, because that was one of the single worst performances I've ever seen against a team that I root for. I wish I could take that every week. They just offered little resistance in the run game. They lost the battle in the trenches. There were multiple penalties where you were questioning what they were thinking, and they were really questioning what you were thinking at the end of the half instead of kicking the field goal, going for it on fourth down. More on that later, but let's start with the Eagles. So last week, what were our complaints? It was too easy for Derek Carr. He kind of could settle in and make any throw that he wanted to. And then on offense, this has been a problem all year, but too heavy on the passing and just completely abandoning the run game. Well, what did we see today? Commitment to the run game, 236 rushing yards. Very ironic that this happened after Miles Sanders gets hurt. You activate Jordan Howard off the practice squad. He's in there getting special teams tackles and also just getting like 5 yards a clip on the ground. So Boston Scott, Jalen Hurts with his legs was impressive too. And Jordan Howard just formed the Avengers today. 236 rushing yards on the ground. It was fantastic. And then on defense, aggressiveness. This is what we've been asking for and praying for, really, just because we were the team offering little resistance just a week ago and in weeks past. But this week, blitzed a lot. I believe there were 5 blitzes early in the first quarter. We had 6 sacks today, multiple forced fumbles. And even though we didn't recover all of those fumbles, you are stripping the ball, going for the quarterback's arm. The ball's getting on the ground. Even with the backups, you saw it when Blau came in for the Lions. We had a few strip sacks. So that was fantastic for me. That's what stuck out is maybe don't tell your kids this, but bullying works. Think about all the times that we have bullied professional sports teams in Philadelphia. And this time we did it again with the Eagles. We bullied them into running and blitzing, and it worked. Now, again, some of that is the opponent has changed, and we played clearly an opponent that I don't know where a win is coming from. I feel bad. I do feel bad. I just don't know where a win is coming from for this Lions team after watching them play today. But some of it was hopefully just them improving and them getting better, which is what we talked about at the beginning of the season. Is this Eagles team going to be good? No, hell no. But you want to see growth as the season goes along. There was growth from last week to this week. They played better. They were fundamentally more sound. We got rid of those little mistakes. There were barely any penalties. At one point in the game, it popped up with the graphic, and it said, I believe it was late second quarter, 0 penalties for 0 yards for the Eagles. Very rare that we've seen that lately. And the big thing to me, the standout stars of today. All right, so we've got Josh Sweat with multiple sacks. Dallas Goedert was your leading receiver with 6 receptions for 72 yards. Milton Williams got his first sack. Javon Hargrave was applying pressure again. These are the guys that are going to be here long term. There aren't many because there aren't many talented players on our team. But the guys who are going to be here, the guys that you gave extensions to like Josh Sweat, and the guys that you're probably going to give extensions to like Dallas Goedert, they're the ones making plays. At least gives you something to build on going into the future. And that's what I think what stuck out most today is the standout stars are guys you hope are standout stars for 2, 3, 4 years down the road when you start to accumulate draft picks and hopefully add talent to this roster. The Dolphins lost again today. So the top 5 pick is there in order. Carson, oh my God, buddy. I I'm sorry. Like, I will root for you to the day you die, but what were you doing? Colts lose again. Some people think that's a good thing. He did play every snap, but I'm starting to get worried. They lost to the Titans, so the Titans won the tiebreaker. I'm starting to get very concerned that they could look up, be 4 games back or 3 games back in the division and say, we know he's our quarterback. Why waste our first round pick? Let's build. So I am a little bit worried about that. They've got the Jets this week on Thursday Night Football. The Jets today, how the hell did they score 30 points? But we'll see going forward. So you've got those 3 draft picks, hopefully in the first round. We talked about it last week. Is that enough to fix your team? No, but it does help that there's guys on the team now who you're looking at and you're like, all right, these are bright spots. I think Josh Sweat has just been far and away the team MVP and just the best story of the season. This is a guy who there were reports he could never be a 3-down starter because of a knee injury in high school. That's what caused him to fall down the draft boards and go in the 4th round out of Florida State. I remember before this season started, he commented on an article or a quote from Jeff Mosher, and Mosher brought up that story about how the Eagles really like Josh Sweat, but he can never be a multi-down, 3-down defensive end. And then he commented and was like, that's just not true. I can do it if need be. And he's come out this year and really proved it. I mean, Derek Barnett is technically still a starter, but you look at Josh Sweat, I mean, he makes 10 times the plays that Derek Barnett has made this year. Usually when we hear Barnett's name, it's for a bad reason, although he had a sack today as well. They completely bullied the Detroit Lions defensive line. They won in the trenches. That's what you love to see from your football team, because if you're going to grow a bad team, it usually starts in the trenches. You're going to build out. You win up front and build out. So I expect the Eagles to do that as well in the draft this year. So it's good to see that we have some pieces there. Same on the offensive side of the ball. Back to the commitment to the running game. I think there have been points in the past where the Eagles did run the ball this season, very few times, but then they get away with it and it gets their offense out of rhythm. There was a specific 3rd and 3 play that I remember where I think in the past they probably would have passed that one, but today they handed it off to Jordan Howard, who gained 6 on the play. There was a helmet-to-helmet on that one too, but wasn't called. Who cares? And just really, like, you knew the run was coming, and the Lions didn't have anything to do about it. I think there were multiple times today where they knew it was a run play, and they still couldn't stop it. And this is what we went back to last week, where people are calling for Jalen Hurts, and he's not the guy, whatever. It's really hard to judge a quarterback when they're constantly under duress. But when you're running the ball well and it's 2nd and 4 instead of 2nd and 12, then you're going to get a better evaluation. It's not like he had a huge game in the air. He only passed for 107 yards today. But it doesn't matter in this game because you ran the ball so well. But this should be something you build on going forward where you're like, all right, we can clearly balance this game if need be. You're never going to have a performance like this again where you go for 236 rushing yards against a team, because I doubt you see a defense at a front 7 as bad as the Lions going forward. But at least it tells you, yeah, we can run the ball on 1st down and it makes sense and it'll work. And we can put our quarterback in good positions. And he doesn't have to roll out to his right side and launch a ball 30 yards down the field, because in the past, that has been the go-to play for the Eagles. It turns into like backyard football, and you're just hoping a receiver makes a play, and usually it's a contested catch or something like that, or you hope he gets his 2 feet in bounds when Jalen Hurts launches at 25 yards as he's running towards the sideline. Speaking of the sideline, so let's get into the Lions thing, because I am happy. I am excited the Eagles won. This was a great day, 44-6, can't complain. No, we'll see about the Jalen Reagor thing, but no significant injuries. So you get out of there, get a huge win, go home. Great. Fantastic. You got the Chargers coming up. Great team. Get back. Let's get focused. But part of this to me is this the team growing, or were the Lions that bad? And I think there's a balance. The Lions made mistakes today that really questioned just level of focus and everything like that. And I like Dan Campbell. I think he's the perfect coach for Detroit in the situation that they're in, where they're not going to be winning a lot, and you need a great leader of men who's not going to lose the locker room after a loss like that, or after multiple losses strung together for a team that's young and growing. He has that force. He kind of has that aura around him where he's got that tough mentality, and I think he'll be able to hold them together. But they have so many mental mishaps, and this is coming from an Eagles fan. Like, we are leading the league in penalties. Like, I know everything about mental mishaps this year. Drops, penalties, everything. That was bad today. I brought up the sideline because there was a play where Jalen Hurts actually runs out of bounds. And this was on 1st and goal, I believe. And it would have been 2nd and goal back at the 15. And there were penalties on both teams. So, of course, the Lions hold, which you don't want to do. And then there would have been an illegal man downfield. But Jalen Hurts, because he stepped out of bounds, it actually worked to our favor. Of course, that just happens against the Lions. But there's a hold on the play. If they don't hold there, it's 2nd and goal from the 15-yard line with Hurts stepping out of bounds. And there were just multiple times like that. There was another play later in the game. So they stuffed Jalen Hurts for a loss on the run inside the 5-yard line. So it's going to be 2nd and goal. But instead, they have an illegal substitution penalty. And they had multiple illegal substitution penalties today. That it's just little things. And I feel like I'm echoing everything I said about the Eagles last week. It's little things. You're not doing little things right. When you don't do little things right, then it turns into big things. Well, all right, you get an illegal substitution penalty. Instead of a negative play that turns into 2nd and goal, it's 1st and goal, and you're at the 2-yard line, and then the Eagles run the ball in with Boston Scott to play later. Little things turn to big things. The Lions, wow, many little things. They had a 35-yard gain, but then had an illegal formation. Bring it back. That would have been their longest play of the day. This was after the game was already settled, but they forced the field goal and then jump over the line of scrimmage, which everyone knows this rule at this point, right? We all know this. You can't jump over. They don't want you to fall and break your neck as you leap over. It's a 15-yard penalty. All right? I thought everybody knew this. You would think that players in the locker room on an NFL roster would know this, since all of us sitting at home watching 7 hours of commercial-free football know it too. But apparently the Lions did not. So you extend the Eagles' drive. And in a close game, that would kill you. Luckily, the game was put away. But again, little things turn to big things. You force the 4th down. You force the field goal. Instead, you give them 15 free yards and extend their drive. And then lastly, with the Lions, I know that there is a lack of talent. I know. It's rough. And, they're going to have that. I just don't know where the win comes from. And as much as I'm in love with Kayvon Thibodeau and want that 1st overall pick, I just don't see how the Lions don't get that 1st overall pick, considering how things are going and just that performance there today. We'll see if they take a quarterback or what. But you got to worry a little bit about like this coaching staff with Dan Campbell, where situational awareness just seems to be bad. They were making fun of it on Pardon My Take, where they kind of had like a sad punt a few weeks ago where they were down by a lot. But if you don't punt there, like you could have turned that into something. And at the end of the half today, so it's 3rd down, and they run it on 3rd down with less than 30 seconds in the half. They come up short, but that's not even the main concern. You should be throwing in that position to begin with. And then you have 1 timeout left. You go for it on 4th down, and you get stuffed. But even if you went for it and got it, you ran the ball, and it would have been a running clock. You would have had to burn your last timeout. Then you had to kick the field goal anyway. You could have just took the points right there. None of that made sense. It was complete botch of clock management, situational awareness that it didn't matter. It just didn't make any sense at all. And you're just left at home just like laughing at what happened, because you're like, did they just do what I think they did? Situational awareness. So for the Eagles, again, great day. Defense played well. Shout out to Darius Slay and Avonte Maddox. I feel like we all knew a big Darius Slay play was coming back to Detroit. I did not know that Avonte Maddox was there. So they team up for one. Avonte Maddox with the strip the strip of the wide receiver. Darius Slay takes it in. I love that. I wish every cornerback would go in there like they're Floyd Mayweather and land a punch on that football anytime someone's carrying it like that. It's just like, what do you have to lose? Unless you're TJ Watt and you actually punch the guy in the face instead of the ball. But how often does that happen? If you have multiple guys wrapping a guy up, go in there and take a punch. Go in there and try to strip it out. Fantastic use by them today. They were all over the field, it seemed. It seemed like they were faster. And I know they switched up the linebackers today. So it was a lot more TJ Edwards who played well. And even Singleton was on the field a ton. Eric Wilson was a healthy scratch. Some people think that's because he's going to get traded. Who's trading for him? It's just, who wants that? I just think we got to see what these other linebackers have. So TJ Edwards actually played well. It was fantastic. He actually got good linebacker play in a position that you haven't invested in. We've been struggling with this. So they look faster. They got after the quarterback and blitzing. Again, we talked about it. 5 blitzes in the first half, which is more than they had, or first quarter, which is more than they had last week. Swarming, blitzing, aggressiveness. That's what we want to see going forward. That's what you're going to have next week. Justin Herbert is a phenomenal quarterback. So we're going to need to see that. On offense, balance again. So Boston Scott, Jordan Howard, don't really know how Kenny Gainwell ended up doing garbage time. It's got to piss off a lot of fantasy owners. Me, a Jalen Hurts fantasy owner, unbiased opinion, but I didn't think Jalen Hurts or Jalen Reagor's knee was down. I thought he extended and got there. That was a little pop pass. That would have got me 5 points in the fantasy world, but what are you going to do? But balance going forward, trusting Jordan Howard and Boston Scott on early downs so that you can trust your quarterback. And we want to see these guys who are going to be here for the long term. The season is pretty much a wash. I know you won today, but you're 3-5. And honestly, the Cowboys are just better than you are. And you're not competing in the wild card at all. Like, it's not a question. So what do you have going forward? So keep going to Dallas Goedert. I thought there were multiple times today where they ran the same play to him, which is fine. If it works, keep going back to it because the offensive line protected well. Jalen Hurts didn't bail out to his right. He stood in, hit Dallas Goedert. More of that going forward. So build on today. This is the word of the season. This is the theme of the season, growth. Continue to grow each week because although you might not be competing this year, you will have opportunities in the years to come to compete if you hit on your draft picks. So you want to see the guys who will be there for that grow this year. So far, it looks like you are. Dallas Goedert's been playing well. Josh Sweat, Milton Williams, Javon Hargraves, guys that you've given contracts to. Darius Slay will be here as well, even though he's a veteran. That's what you want to see. So all in all, just a fantastic day. Lions fans, I don't know how you do it. I don't know where the win is coming from. It was dead in that stadium today. I don't blame you, but good job by the Eagles not to lose focus. There was not a single positive headline about you this week. Rightfully so, but not a single positive word about you. Everybody was picking the Lions, and you came in and just absolutely dominated and emasculated that team. So fantastic job by you, but let's grow on it. Let's grow on it. You're home next week against the Chargers. That's a great test. You have some winnable games coming up. You have the Broncos coming up. And albeit on the road, I think that's still a winnable game. So let's build, let's grow, let's continue doing this. 44-6. Can't beat that. Starters out by the fourth quarter. Let's lay our legs up and watch red zone. Can't beat that. I felt like I was watching the 2007 Patriots where they would just dominate a team, score 40, and then you're like, all right, what's next? And that's where we're at for the Eagles. Great day. What's next?
Chris Hansen here, and I'm going to need you all to take a seat right over there and check out Birds versus Boys.
I think you're completely right here, and I hate it.
Yep. Hey, idiots. Stop doing dumb things.
I got 2 phones.
Upside alert. Upside alert. I might go insane.
I think you're already there.
There's no hope. Hope is gone.
If this was an AFC North podcast, we'd be done in 15 minutes.
Bob Hope.
I'm going to drink bleach.
That is
the team you promised me you were going to be this year.
This is the Consciously Hopeful podcast.
I'll be watching.